Look closely, I could see they had specialized masks and they also had on goggles. I'm going to bring in a legendary former Secret Service agent right now. He ran the Secret Service for a while. Tim McCarthy, special agent. And there he is on March 31st of 1981, just before John Hinckley opened fire on President Reagan. This is Tim McCarthy right here in the light blue suit. And he took a bullet that day, I think actually a couple of them. Agent McCarthy, welcome to Newsmax. A real pleasure to have you tonight, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Greg. Thank you so much.
You bet, you bet. So maybe you heard about what some folks were saying about those special agents with the president. You know, my take on it, they'll take a bullet for the president. I'm sure they would take a droplet. Do you think it was in any way irresponsible to go for that ride with those agents in the car?
Well, first, it's not the role of the Secret Service to tell the president what to do. It's the role of the Secret Service to advise the staff what is safe. The president's going to war zones. The Secret Service would prefer they probably don't. But once the mission is selected, it then is up to Secret Service to make it as safe as possible, first for the president and those from around the president. And I noted that it appeared they had at least N95 masks on. I believe there's a barrier between the front seat and the back seat of the car. And it should never happen that the Secret Service has to be considered when it comes to the role of the President of the United States or anyone else that the Secret Service protects. I guarantee the Secret Service can take whatever measures are available to them and the best practices to protect the agents. But their role is to protect the President of the United States. And Greg, this isn't Boy Scouts. No one has to do this if they don't want to do it. It is tough. There's no question there's threats. But there's threats against the President of the United States every single day. Every single day threats come in. And the president does go into dangerous environments, going back to all of our wars, and presidents have gone to war zones. So this is nothing different. And I'm sure every agent understood this is their job. They're going to do it the best way they possibly can. And their role is to protect the President of the United States first and foremost, whoever that is.
Mr. McCarthy, I'm so glad you raised those issues. I don't think a lot of civilians recognize that risk is part of the job. And quite frankly, some agents are drawn to the high adrenaline challenges of protecting a president of the United States. And I would imagine being in that car with President Trump wasn't considered punishment. It's considered an honor, perhaps.
Well, I'd also like to say that, I was in the Secret Service for 22 years and a chief of police for 26 years. And I haven't heard too many people get too concerned about our police officers and our first responders who are out there every day doing their job, hands-on, doing their job every single day. And in some cases, they're addressing riots and civil unrest. No one has had much concern for them, and they don't have a great deal of PPE, or at least as sophisticated type of PPE that these agents were protected with. But these agents are doing an outstanding job. Our police officers are doing an outstanding job, and I'd like to hear just as much concern for these officers, firemen, and first responders who are out there hands-on every day in very difficult circumstances. So God bless all of them doing their jobs every day, not complaining about it, do what their oath told them to do.
Special Agent McCarthy, or Chief McCarthy, if you don't mind, I'd like to take you back to March 31st, 1981. We have a picture of you. Again, you're just a few feet from the president in that blue suit right there. Let's take a look at that. And do you have any sense? Okay, here it is. You literally took a bullet for the president, sir. Actually, I believe you took more than one. I know after a traumatic experience like that, and I'm sure it must have been somewhat traumatic, perhaps, how much of that do you remember? All of it?
Well, of course, I remember all of it. It doesn't happen too often, thank God. It was not really a victory for the Secret Service, even though we helped save the president, because the fact that it happened at all. But I was off for about 3 months. My father was a sergeant in the Chicago Police Department. So anyone who goes into this business understands that there's some risk. If you're a police officer, a firefighter, a first responder, there's a certain amount of risk that you have to understand is there. You shouldn't take the job. So I guess I was very lucky to do what I was trained to do on that day. And it was only 3 months later, I think, that I was back on the job on the presidential detail, did it for 2 more years there. And then after a transfer to Chicago, came back and did it for another 4 years with President Reagan and President Bush. So I think about it from time to time, and I just thank God that I was able to do my job like many of our first responders and our military, do what I was trained to do when you had a critical incident.
Tim McCarthy, a real privilege to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much, sir. Let's do it again, if you don't mind.
Anytime, Greg. Thank you.
All the best. All the best to you, and many thanks indeed. A legend.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.